Now, fibre and protein maxing are the latest health trends to hit. Where could they possibly have hit?
TikTok.
But are they legitimate?
Well, here to tell us why these nutrients are so important for us is dietitian Orla Walsh. Good morning, to Orla. So protein and fibre maxing, what is this?
It's about getting as much protein or as much fibre into your meal as possible. So people are kind of nearly competitive with the numbers they can reach in particular meals.
OK, but when we're talking about trends, an awful lot of will say health, hair, beauty experts come on and say this is a nonsense.
Yeah.
This is on TikTok. Does this have something behind it?
Yeah, there is a fair bit of evidence behind it. So I'm not totally against it. I guess, well, firstly, let's talk about protein. Most people aren't protein deficient, but they aren't. So they get plenty of protein. They might have benefits if they consume a little bit more protein, because protein helps you feel full and keeps you full, and also feeds our muscles and bones, which our body can lose these important tissues, especially after the age of 30.
Where do we get protein from?
We get protein from lots of different foods like meat, poultry and fish, but also the likes of beans, peas and lentils.
Okay.
And eggs and dairy.
These protein over this way. So beans, lentils, these type of things.
Yeah, and dairy.
There's protein in milk and stuff.
Yes, in milk, yogurt and cheese, as well as eggs. Despite people thinking that there's protein in nuts, there's not that much protein in nuts. In fact, there's the same amount of protein in a handful of nuts as a slice of bread. So they wouldn't be a great protein source.
You see people on when they're going to the gym and everything like that, it's protein, so they'd be eating breasts of chicken and stuff like that. Yeah. Is that a good source?
It is. It's a very rich source. So there might be 35 grams of protein in a portion of chicken, while there might be 2 or 3 grams in a portion of nuts. So you can see the contrast there.
Okay.
So it's about how much is in them.
We are not protein deficient here in this country.
No.
We are fibre deficient. Up to 80% of us do not get enough fibre. So what is fibre and what does it do?
So fibre is found in plants, and we don't eat enough plants in Ireland. We don't eat enough fruit and veg and whole grains. And as a result, like you said, 4 in 5 people aren't consuming enough fibre. And we need a certain amount of fibre just for our gut to function as it should. And when people don't eat enough fibre, there tends to be consequences. So their bowel can be a little bit sluggish, but also their gut microbiome isn't being fed. And over the long term, we know that when we don't eat enough fibre, it increases our risk of disease and death from disease as well.
And how do you know you're not getting enough fibre? Is it because you might have problems with your gut, or people always say, fibre keeps you regular.
Yes, yeah, but so too does coffee. So unfortunately, that's not the only way to figure out if you're getting enough fibre, because plenty of people don't eat enough fibre, but because they're stressed out or they drink too much coffee, they still go regularly. I suppose, considering 4 in 5 people are fibre deficient, it's probably safe to assume that you are. I would just encourage people to go, OK, well, what can I do about it? And making sure that you eat enough fruit and veg. And, you know, that seems like a typical dietitian message that we're always saying, but we know that a lot of people aren't. So it's about consuming 1 to 2 portions at least per meal, like at breakfast, lunch and dinner.
So, OK, I need you to break this down for me. How much fibre are we meant to be taking in for an average person, right?
Yeah.
Every single day?
So generally about 25 to 35 grams. And we're consuming about 18. So we're falling short by about 7 grams at least.
OK.
So what's fibre? Is this fibre here?
Yeah, so fibre is, the bulk of the fibre that we will eat will come from the whole grains we eat. So when people eat a lot of processed food and refined carbohydrates, the white carbohydrates rather than the brown ones, they'll consume less fibre. So for example, with pasta, if you were to make the switch from white to brown, you're doubling your fibre intake in that meal. When it comes to processed food, I didn't want to vilify it either, and I wanted to show options that are processed, but they're still high in fibre and good, healthy options.
So that's like, say, with cereals?
With cereals, exactly, yeah. And
Weetabix and that's always said high in fibre first thing in the morning, sort of thing. Right, OK.
And when it comes to the likes of grains, beans, peas and lentils are phenomenal. So again, if we go back to that target of 25 to 35 grams, a serving of baked beans would give you 10 grams. So it's quite a lot of fibre. But they'll also give you protein.
When you say serving, what's a serving?
The likes of a tin, a small tin of baked beans.
A small tin like that?
Yeah.
So that's 10 of your 35 a
10,
day?
yeah. And some people might only need 25 grams, so it's nearly 50% of what they consume.
Why would some people only need 25 grams?
Because how much fibre you need depends on your body size and also your calorie intake. So we measure it, you need 14 grams for every 1,000 calories you eat each day. So again, most people don't need to be counting calories or even counting grams of fibre or protein, but they do need to be aware of it and aware that they probably need to increase the fibre in particular.
Fibre supplements?
You can, but when you're supplementing with fibre, you're not getting all the goodness that the food is offering.
No, but
you
is there such thing? I've never seen fibre supplements.
No, there is, and they have. Some of them have great research behind them, but I guess it's a band-aid solution. So I obviously want to come in. Food
I know.
first.
I understand that.
And they're also quite expensive. You know,
right.
if your supplement's going to cost you at least €1 a day,
Right.
that money could be better spent
buying
on
vegetables.
Because I've seen there's obviously been this trend about slapping the word protein on every single. There's protein in this chocolate bar. There's protein in this milk. There's protein in everything, and that has led to increased prices. When you look at this, like it really has done something like that because protein is having a moment. Is that the sort of thing that we need to start thinking about with fibre? Because fibre seems like the poor cousin.
Yes, but I think it is having a moment, and it will be starting to appear
because
more
of this
readily.
maxing, this thing that's happening
Because
online.
of that trend. And, because people haven't been eating enough fibre for so long, like not just in the most recent national survey, but in the one prior to that, I suppose it is kind of music to my ears. My concern is if you're not getting it from a variety of sources, you're not getting a variety of different fibres in.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very
Can
interesting.
you overdo it? Can you over fibre? Can you over protein?
Yeah, so what we don't want to happen is people go, OK, I'm not eating enough, I'm going to eat lots of fibre now. And then they over-consume and their gut just isn't ready for that
Right,
transition. So you really need to increase your fibre intake slowly. And include, some fluids with it
I knew
as well.
Orla was coming on today and I was reading the brief and she was talking about chia seeds. This is just my breakfast. It's just
Chia
as chia.
seeds.
I was like, Orla, look, I'm eating chia seeds.
Gold
Best thing I've
star.
ever tried. Thanks a million.
A1.